Most people in America have the luxury of having a house, a car, and 3 meals a day. But the homeless people in America don't have a home, they have to walk everywhere, and they don't know when or where they will find their next meal. About 643,067 people experience homelessness on any given night in America. Because people lose their jobs, they do not have enough money for their house payment. When they don't make their house payment, the bank that owns the house will foreclose on the house, and the family will become homeless. Low-cost housing is hard to find, so even when they lose their house, they can't afford to rent a home. Many other people go from a successful career and lifestyle to being homeless because of drugs, alcohol, abuse, or gambling. Melissa is just one of the many examples of this problem.
I was pretty successful. I graduated from nursing school at the U, and I had this great life, but I was a drug addict and I couldn't stay clean. So I went from having this amazing potential future to literally in under a year living in a van.
Homeless people face many dangers every day: hunger, weather, being attacked or robbed of what little possessions they own, and turning to crime due to their desperate situations. Homelessness is a big problem for the homeless and the government for two main reasons. Medical care is a problem as the homeless people don't have a family doctor, so they go to more expensive medical facilities like the ER, which ends up costing the government more money than if they just had a regular doctor. Also, some medical issues go untreated, resulting in more severe sickness or even death. One of the most crucial problems is homeless children's education, as they cannot concentrate in school.
And how hard is it for a child to focus on school when they're dealing with the problems that you're talking about?
You know what, it's just so difficult when you have no idea of where you're sleeping that night, where you're getting your next meal, of where how you're getting to school, how you're paying for your school supplies. It is just impossible to be thinking about anything other than survival at that moment. We have a student who did a talk for us one day at a middle school, and she said to the students, "What's the first thing you do when you get home from school?" And of course all the students said they get a snack, and her response was, "There is no snack because there's no dinner." Her fear was actually school holidays because she knew that that was her only source of food. It's just impossible to think of these 16, 17, and 18-year-olds that are living on their own, and we are able to completely transform their lives and get them stopping the generational cycle of homelessness.
Because the homeless children don't do well in school, many drop out of school before graduating. These homeless teenagers will not be able to go to college and will have a hard time finding a job. It is not likely that they will become productive citizens in America, resulting in more homeless people on welfare. We can solve this problem by helping the homeless get back on their feet. I interviewed Miss Katie Durbin, who works with the homeless in Ohio, on her broad views on homelessness in America.
My broad views are that nobody can really be successful in their life if they don't have a home. Just looking at, for a second at the chronically homeless, because they are the most stark example of what that means. If when they're living on the street or living in a shelter, they really can't get their life together. And one of the things that you're living on the street, how are you going to get your life together? Why would you even want to get your life together if you have nothing, and that's all you kind of know? Once they have a safe, warm place that is their own, then they can really start to heal and figure out what needs to happen for them with help, what needs to happen for them to sort of move on in their life. And so housing is really, in my opinion, a real primary need. And without without it, people just struggle.
The government should build simple apartments where the homeless can live. There should be a counselor in these apartment buildings to help the people find a job or help them train for a simple job. These apartments would not be free. The tenants would have to pay 30% of their income for rent. Until they have a job, they could work on maintenance of the building or on state properties to pay for rent.
We were working in New York City. One mayor, they had welfare. Welfare is when you kind of just go and get a check and you don't have to do anything for it, just show up and get money. And then another mayor came in and changed welfare to workfare. Workfare says that you don't get the check unless you do some work for it. And we literally, in just a couple months, we went from seeing people laying on the sidewalk and just, sleeping there at night, for example, to having to go and try to find homeless people because they were no longer laying on the sidewalk. So the program seems, at least in New York City, to have worked really, really well.
Some disagree and say that the homeless were lazy or they just didn't work hard enough. That's why they became homeless. They may feel that this housing work program is just a waste of time, money, and effort. However, most people are homeless due to unemployment, foreclosure, natural disasters, and lack of low-cost housing. Most homeless people would just like the chance to get back on their feet. They just need help getting started. Going back to Melissa's story, while homeless, Melissa ended up getting pregnant, and she and her partner sought help. They were out of drugs and were given an apartment. Family services helped them find a job, and they now have their own apartment, becoming productive citizens in America.
I am a nurse. I'm a nursing supervisor at Recovery Centers of King County. So I work with chemically dependent people seeking treatment, which is just ironic and amazing. And Dan is a lead installer for a sign company. So we both are successful, and we moved out of that transitional housing, and we are in normal market rate apartment. You give a little initially in a way that's meaningful and successful, you get this massive return, at least that's how I see it. Plus you're saving lives.
To have a successful business, you must first start with initial investments. In the same way, the American government needs to invest in the homeless people's lives by providing low-cost housing and helping them find a job. From this investment, America will gain productive citizens, decrease the homeless population, and improve the economy. Mr. President, I implore you, we must act now and invest in the future of America to stop the growing crisis of homelessness.